And good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, as we welcome you live here to Pope Francis Preparatory School, where it is the Pope Francis Cardinals taking on the Hampshire Regional Raiders in the second game of the afternoon for girls lacrosse. Is a shot there right off the bat by Jordan Bowen. We do apologize, ladies and gentlemen, for the little bit of a late start here. It was raining out earlier today. We were unsure if we were going to do the baseball or the girls lacrosse game. But we are here doing the girls lacrosse game. So first girls lacrosse game of the season. I believe we did quite a few games the past season. I believe it was 10 last year. So the Cardinals looking to get back on the winning track, coming off an 11-7 record last year. Unfortunately, they would fall not just in Western Mass. They would fall in Western Mass to Agawam. I believe the final score would be 10-9 that game. Hampshire Regional, on the other hand, coming off a 12-6. So both teams just about evenly matched. Pope obviously suffering a couple of losses on the roster. Caitlin Ondrick was one of the big seniors last year, putting up over 70 points. I believe it was 48 goals, 30 assists, as she continues her career on for UMass Boston for women's lacrosse, as this play is offside here. But certainly with the exit of many, many seniors, there does come the influx of freshmen into the Pope Francis roster. So we have had freshmen fill the spots here, as Ali Soja trying to fire a low shot, as that was sent just low and wide of the net. Pope up 2-1 here, just under 6 minutes remaining in the first quarter. So as we said, first game of the season, boys lacrosse did not have the best start they wanted to. Late Friday last night, we were not able to live stream that game. We will not be able to live stream the game later tonight. But it would be a tough 24-2 loss to the West Side Terriers. Inside feed looking for Nolan Craven, trying to fire a shot, as that was sent just wide of the net. Pope certainly with some good ozone time here, under 6 minutes left in the first quarter. But, I mean, from what we saw early last season, the pregame between these two teams, they only met once last season. Low shot there. I believe that was fired off by Kiera Fitzgerald. Jordan Bowen taking around. Back for Ali Soldier, trying to work her way in. Over Ellen Negron. Shot save made by the Hampshire Regional goaltender with just about 5 minutes remaining in the first quarter. So as we said, these two teams did meet last season. I believe it was a postseason matchup as well. Or excuse me, no, rather it was a mid-season matchup. In 8-7 it would come in favor of the Pope Francis Cardinals, as that was just about, I think, 2 or 3 weeks into the season for Pope Francis. So what game's looking like the rest of this week? I know this game, we are recording then live streaming this game, so when this game gets out, the score will already be in. Save made by Zoe Shepard, as Pope looking to come back the other way. Riley Longo trying to work it upfield. Get the pass off. I believe it was over for Fitzgerald, but couldn't go there. So as we said, this week, not really much. It's just on the Monday schedule. Girls lacrosse versus Hampshire. Later tonight, boys lacrosse versus Agawam, and baseball versus Chicopee Comp on the diamond right now. We're unsure of which bus was pulling up to the school just about 20 minutes ago, if it was Hampshire Regional or Chicopee Comp. But we did find out that it would be Chicopee Comp and Hampshire Regional just showing up within the past 10 minutes. So certainly a little bit of adversity they have to face there. Boys lacrosse, though, season ahead, and girls lacrosse both have 2 to 3 away games right off the bat hitting the road. Boys lacrosse, a very notable game that they have is one down the other end of the state, as Hampshire Regional ties it up at 2-2 with 3:30 remaining in the first quarter. But as we said, a more notable game on the boys' schedule, just about a week ahead of ourselves, is boys lacrosse at Nauset. That's a 1 p.m. start. So those of you down the other end of the state and look for a good game, Pope Francis versus Nauset could be on the schedule. We did do our best to give you I believe, our first softball game in quite a while. I think it was 2 years that was our first game that we have seen for softball. So we're looking to certainly give you, ladies and gentlemen, the folks at home, a way better viewing. We do have a couple more softball games on our schedule. Unfortunately, it would not go in their favor, as it was a tough 15-0 loss, as Nolan Craven at the 15-yard line now. Going to get something going for Pope, trying to work her way inside out. She scores with 3 minutes remaining in the first quarter as she puts Pope back in on top 3-2. So as we said earlier, we're going to try to get a couple more softball games on the schedule. Commerce and Renaissance here at home. I do believe that the next boys lacrosse game is not for a while, about 2 weeks ahead of schedule here. So certainly softball and boys lacrosse will be on the agenda to get a couple of those games. We also try to do our best to bring you a couple of boys baseball games coming up in the next week. We have Tuesday versus Northampton at 4:30. Be sure to tune in for that. We'll hopefully give it a live stream game. Unfortunately, it's not right now. As we said before, by the time this game is out, the final score will already be posted. Ali Soja trying to work her way inside out this way, and that fires a low shot. That's sent just low and wide of the net. But as we said earlier, winter sports season unfortunately came to a close. Pope Francis, boys hockey, they fought so hard to get to the Frozen Four for the MIA Division I tournament. Unfortunately, they would fall 1-0 to Catholic Memorial as here on the penalty shot, Ali Soja trying to get something going. As she does, she fires and scores. Low left side, and Pope now commands a 2-goal lead with 2:12 remaining in the first quarter. So Soja and Craven both with 2 late goals here in the first quarter. And that has put Pope Francis up at what was once a tie game. And now Pope Francis making the lead more and more early on in the first quarter. So as we said, it was boys hockey. They fought so hard to get to the Frozen Four. Unfortunately, they would fall 1-0 as that goal would come just about with 6 minutes remaining in regulation at Sasonga Center in Lowell, Massachusetts. Catholic Memorial would go on to win the Division I state title against St. John Shrewsbury. Final score of that game would be 4-3. Game-winning goal was scored with just about 21 seconds remaining in regulation. So certainly it was almost an overtime that they could have had going into for the second consecutive year in a row. Hampshire Regional trying to get something going now with 1:30 remaining in the first quarter. Official blows the play dead as we could have a possible penalty shot here for Hampshire Regional. Raiders trying to get something going behind the net. Zoe Shepard stepping up big in net so far. Couple of big-time stops as she looks to make another one here. Hopefully that shot just sailed far and wide of the net. I think she might have got a piece of it. Hampshire Regional still on offense. Less than a minute remaining in regulation now. Pope up 4-2 the score. We saw it was good ozone time for Pope Francis getting it done. Nolan Craven and Ali Soja. 2 goals to propel Pope with the lead now. Just about 40 seconds remaining in the first quarter of regulation. But as we set up on the agenda, next week it will be hopefully an action-packed week. Boys lacrosse versus Westfield Monday at 6:30. We will do our best to get that game live stream. We are unsure if we will have it live stream, however, we should. Boys baseball the next day versus Northampton at 4:30. Be sure to tune in for that. And then softball versus Commerce, as we said, one of the many games, as Zoe Shepard will take it behind the net and just wear the clock down. 3, 2, and 1, and the first quarter has come to an end with Pope Francis leading 4-2. So we'll step aside, ladies and gentlemen. Stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. Champions play here. Coming up, the second quarter of action live on Pope Prep. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Second quarter of action just about to get underway here. Pope Francis working from left to right. Hampshire Regional working from right to left. As those of you that may have missed the first quarter, 4-2 the score in favor of the Cardinals. I was unable to be in the box for the first two goals of both teams. The second two, Nolan Craven and Ali Soja, each putting Pope up 2 goals over the Raiders. Jordan Ballant trying to get something going for Pope Francis. She's trying to deke her way inside of the zone. Finds a centering feed. Can't find Ali Soja, who fanned on the shot in front of Hampshire Regional netminder. Ali Soja back up for Jordan Ballant. Nolan Craven looking over for Ella Negron. Ella Negron back over for Jordan Ballant. Looking inside, trying to find, I believe it's Fitzgerald. Fitzgerald trying to fire a shot off. Said she'll cycle it out for Ali Soja. Ballant trying to fire a low side shot off. Believe it was covered up by the netminder for the Raiders, but it almost looked like it went. It may have been on the line. So Pope almost with a good opportunity to go up 3 goals. Here, it's about halfway through the second. Pass stolen out of the air by Ali Soja. Soja looking inside for, I believe it was Ella Negron, but she couldn't fire a shot off, or rather it was Laura Martins. So Hampshire Regional trying to work something out of their own D zone, trying to get something going. As the official blows the play down at the 20-yard line, I believe it will be Hampshire Regional possession. Hampshire Regional trying to get out of their zone, but again picked off by Ali Soja, who works over for Jordan Ballant. Ballant looking inside, trying to fire a shot. Picked up by Nolan Craven, who already has 1 goal on the night, trying to add to it and make it 2. Shot save made by the Raiders netminder once again. So as we said before, last season, what it looked like was April 1st, an April Fool's Day matchup, and Pope Francis would take it. It was a close game, 8-7. Cardinals would fight all the way to the end. I believe being down 6-7 in the dying moments of the game, but they would fight back and come out on top with the victory and a 1-goal margin. As we have a flag on the play now. So I believe Hampshire Regional could get a quality scoring opportunity here and look to limit it to a 1-goal lead. So Hampshire Regional with a golden opportunity to cut the Pope Francis lead to 1 goal with 9:22 remaining in the second quarter. A low shot deflected off the foot of Zoe Shepard. As Ella Negron trying to work it out of the Pope Francis D zone. As behind the play, Shepard in a little bit of pain as she may be hurt. Jordan Ballant working it up field over the 20-yard line, trying to fire a shot off. Spinning around looking for Kira Fitzgerald. Fitzgerald's shot sails over the net. Ali Soja up top for Nolan Craven. Back for Jordan Ballant. Again, Ballant and Andrick were the 2 main scorers for this Pope Francis team last year. We saw them. Andrick, as we said, 48 goals, 30 assists. Now playing Division III women's lacrosse for UMass Boston. And Jordan Ballant, I believe, with about a 40-point season, 20 goals, 28 assists. So certainly good points all around for this Cardinal team. Nolan Craven trying to find a centering feed inside. I believe it was back for Laura Martins, who fired a shot off square off the Hampshire Regional netminder, but nothing would go her way with just under 8 minutes remaining in regulation. So Hampshire Regional trying to get something going out of their own zone. Play broken up, though. Claire DeRozier's trying to pick off the pass, the 35-yard line. But I believe Pope will come out with possession here with just about 7 minutes, 20 seconds remaining in this second quarter. As we said, a scoreless second quarter. All goals coming in the first quarter play, as it was Craven and Soja who get Pope Francis up 2 goals by the end of the first quarter. Jordan Ballant taking her time with it. Pope Francis in no rush here. Ali Soja, inside feed. Pope Francis called offsides, though. As Hampshire Regional trying to work it out of their own D zone now. A burst of speed to get it upfield and try to get something going. It's Pope looking to play some lockdown to here. Sophia Lynchwan with a good stick check. Hampshire Regional trying to come back the other way. Zoe Shepard again standing strong in net for Pope Francis. We are just past the halfway point here in the second quarter. So as we said, upcoming games. Next Friday, we will have baseball, hopefully versus St. John Shrewsbury. Again, we don't see really a lot of the team games from the other end of the state. I believe last year we did have a St. John's prep game. Unfortunately, that would not be here at the home field on the diamond at Pope Francis. It would be an away game. But nonetheless, if it ever came to Pope Francis, we would certainly be willing to live stream the game here for you and the folks at home that are in look of a good baseball game on our hands. I believe over at the diamond right now, Pope Francis taking on Chicopee Comp. Unsure of what the score is. With 5 minutes remaining in regulation. Hampshire Regional tried to fire again a low shot off, but it was sailed just wide of the net. As I believe we have a timeout here taken by Hampshire Regional. So with 4:44 remaining, Pope Francis still up 4-2. As we'll step aside, ladies and gentlemen. Stay tuned. Champions play here live on Pope Prep. Back here after the Pope Francis timeout. 4-2, they command the lead. 4:44 remaining in the second quarter as Keely Geckel will start out of the Pope Francis D zone. Again, as we said before, Zoe Shepard coming up big in net for Pope Francis. Couple of big-time stops, not only just on the penalty shots, but in front of the net. I mean, you certainly can't ask for much. And fun fact, before I had even looked at when I followed the NCAA, especially for lacrosse, for men's and women's lacrosse, I'd always thought, much like hockey, where the save percentages were pretty high, averaging in the 900s. For instance, like a hockey save percentage being 920, as Ballant trying to fire a shot off. But I was not made aware. I recently looked up that lacrosse goaltenders' save percentage was, like a good save percentage, was right around probably 600 or 700. So certainly a big difference between hockey save percentages and lacrosse save percentages. As that was something I first looked into, starting to follow NCAA lacrosse, and just getting into high school lacrosse. As with under 4 minutes remaining, Nolan Craven taking along the side. Pope Francis trying to fire a shot in. I believe it was a centering pass looking for Ali Soja. But Hampshire Regional will try to come back out the other way. They're going to make it a one-goal game, as they have not had much ozone time. But when they have had ozone time, they have certainly done a good job of getting shots off. As this pass sent to the far side, Zoe Shepard can't scoop up the ball, as she'll hustle back to get into net. As Hampshire Regional trying to get something going. Behind the Pope Francis netminder, Zoe Shepard. 3 minutes remaining in the second quarter of regulation. Hampshire Regional trying to find an inside pass. Nothing would go, though. Raiders unable to fire a shot off. As we said, good ozone time, but they haven't been able to get any shots that we've seen. They've had a couple of ozone rushes in the past 3 or 4 minutes, and they've gotten quick shots off, but that's just been about it. This is the first we've seen the Raiders with some real controlled passing around, trying to work inside to get closer to the net and drive to the net. But unfortunately, nothing would go for them. As with 2:20 remaining in the second quarter, I believe this will be Raider possession. So Pope Francis falling in the Western Mass tournament, first round to Agawam. Final score of that game would be 18-6, a tough loss for them. Hampshire Regional trying to work something in. Low shot there. And they score, as it is now a one-goal game with 2:20 remaining in the second quarter. But as we were saying, Pope Francis last year, Western Mass lost to Agawam 18-6 with the final score. And then in the state championship, I believe it was the preliminary round, they would fall to Medway, a tough road loss, 17-5 the final score. And Hampshire Regional, on the other hand, taking the trip to Nantucket Island, as they would lose 16-0 in the state tournament. So certainly an unfortunate loss for them. Pope trying to get something going back now. Jordan Ballant looking inside. Ali Soja and Laura Martins upfield. Hampshire Regional trying to come back out the other way with it. Maylee Champlain trying to pile the pressure on for Pope Francis. 2 minutes remaining in regulation now. As Nolan Craven trying to break up the play in center field. Hampshire Regional trying to work their way into the net this way and that, and they score! And just like that, ladies and gentlemen, it's a tie game on our hands with Hampshire Regional. We said the one thing they needed to pick up, certainly, was the ozone time and getting shots off quicker. And they've certainly done a good job of that, as Pope Francis in a little bit of sleep mode here with under 2 minutes in regulation, as we now have a 4-4 game on our hands. What was once a 2-goal lead is now gone and has now evaporated in the hands of the Cardinals. As Pope Francis may have just been looking to get out of this quarter with a 2-goal, maybe 3-goal lead, but Hampshire Regional had other ideas. as Hampshire Regional now will take back possession with a minute 30 remaining in the second half, or second quarter. As we said, though, Pope Francis looking to start off the season strong. Hampshire Regional trying to work their way inside out the Pope Francis ozone, but nothing would go. As we said, both teams are going to get a strong start after this season. When you're with these two teams, you know it's always going to be a good matchup. Ball loose in front of Shepherd. Pope Francis and the Raiders trying to scramble for it. Trying to pick it up. Riley Longo can't pick it up. Claire DeRozier are batted out to midfield. Still scrambling for it at the 20-yard line. Jordan Ballant trying to come out with it for the Cardinals. And I believe we have a plays blown dead here, as Hampshire Regional will gain possession with under a minute remaining in regulation. So they're trying to work something in and take the lead here in the second quarter of play. Claire DeRozier is just trying to get it out of harm's way at the 20-yard line. Ali Soja head upfield. .22 seconds remaining in regulation. Hampshire trying to work her way inside out to the net, trying to fire a low shot off. I believe the official did rule play dead. So time will stop at 13.8 seconds. So Pope with a good opportunity to go up one goal in the final 15 seconds of regulation here. Regain the lead before the second half. Low shot there. Good read by the Hampshire Regional netminder as Pope picked it back up. Ali Soja trying to get fire shot off. Couldn't go there. As time will wind down, Pope Francis unable to get a shot off. And we will head to the halftime report at 4-4 apiece. So coming up, ladies and gentlemen, we'll bring you the Cardinal halftime report. We'll break down what we saw in the first two halves and what we hope to see in the next two, as well as what the future athletic schedule will look like here at Pope Francis. Stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. Champions Play here, live on Pope Prep. Cardinal halftime report here, just about halfway through halftime here, coming up the next 2 quarters of regulation. At a 4-4 standstill between the Hampshire Regional Raiders and the Pope Francis Cardinals. Ali Solja and Nolan Craven putting the Cardinals up 4-2 at the end of the first quarter. And other than that, there would be no scoring for Pope Francis in the second quarter. But, I mean, Hampshire Regional, it was the dying 3 minutes. They made it count. Ozone opportunities, getting shots off. Pope Francis controlled the majority of the second quarter, offensively and defensively. But the last 3 minutes, it was just not there, and Hampshire Regional bounced on the opportunity. So we now find ourselves at a 4-4 standstill at the end of the second quarter. So as we said before, Craven and Sojo with the 2 goals that would put Pope Francis up, but Hampshire Regional had other ideas. Zoe Shepard, pretty stellar in net so far. Can't ask for much more from her, certainly, as she has come up quite a few times big for the Cardinals on the penalty shots and shots close in at the crease as well. The last time these 2 teams squared off, we said before, April 1st of 2024, Pope would win 8-7. So we certainly have a good game on our hands, ladies and gentlemen, as that will just about do it for the Cardinal halftime. As coming up, we have the third quarter of action. Stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. Champions play here, live on Pope Prep. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Third quarter of regulation just about to get underway. Face-off lost by the Cardinals. Hampshire Regional coming out strong here. Certainly a big wake-up call for Pope Francis, as it was as we said, the dying moments of the second quarter, where they would just fall, and Hampshire Regional would tie the game up at 4-4 apiece. Both teams, as we said before, looking to come off a strong season and start off strong. Pope coming off a 11-7 season. Ball mishandled in front of Zoe Shepard. Pope Francis trying to get out of harm's way as they scramble for it, as I believe Claire DeRosiers picked it up. I believe Pope Francis will start with it back out the other way. Sophia Lynchwan working it up for Jordan Ballant. Ballant working inside, trying to find Fitzgerald. Fitzgerald trying to fire a shot. I believe it was stick-checked out of her hands by the Hampshire Regional defenders. Craven trying to fish for the ball. Instead, it comes out to Jordan Ballant. Ballant along the short side for Ella Negron. Negron trying to work her way inside and fire a shot off. Picked back up by Allie Soja. Pass off for Laura Martins. Soja up top for Nolan Craven. Nolan Craven trying to fire a shot inside. Trying to work her way inside for her second goal of the game, and she does! With 10:32 remaining in the third quarter, Nolan Craven, with her second goal of the game, has put Pope Francis up 5-4, a minute 28 into the third quarter. Face-off coming here for Pope Francis and Hampshire Regional. Again, won by the Raiders. Jordan Ballant trying to create some havoc going for Hampshire Regional. Ballant working upfield for Nolan Craven, trying to step inside along the 20-yard line. Cuts back and passed off for Ballant. Leaves a pass off for Allie Soja. Soja working her way in around the net, trying to work it inside. Soja fires a low shot off. Picked down at the goal line by the Hampshire Regional netminder. Hampshire Regional trying to get it out of harm's way. Claire DeRosiers trying to put some pressure on there with Ella Negron. Hampshire Regional trying to get something going back the other way. 5-4 the score. Under 10 minutes remaining now. The third quarter. As a big old stick check at the 40-yard line. I believe it was possibly by DeStefano. Pass trying to work inside. Trying to find Laura Martins, who tried to fire a shot, but nothing would go for her. Hampshire Regional just trying to get it out of harm's way. Nolan Craven picks off the pass. Looking for her hat-trick goal of the night. Trying to fire a low shot as that's sent just wide of the net. Pope certainly with some good ozone opportunities. Ella Negron trying to bat out of midair. Get it over for Laura Martins. Hampshire Regional will come back the other way, though. We're going to tie this game up at 5-5 apiece for the Raiders. As we said before, 12-6 the record last year for Hampshire Regional, 11-7 for Pope Francis. So both teams looking to get back onto the winning track. As we said, later next week, baseball versus Northampton, Tuesday at 4:30. Be sure to tune in for that. Softball versus Commerce, possibly the second game of the season that we will have live stream. Unsure if we will have any play-by-play announced, but nonetheless, we will do our best to give you a live stream. If not, we will record, then post it. Hampshire Regional trying to work their way inside, as I believe this might have gone into the net. Yes, it did. So Hampshire Regional ties it up at 5-5 apiece. Friday, more than likely, boys baseball versus St. John Shrewsbury at 4 p.m. And Monday, we will be doing our best to give you boys lacrosse versus Westfield at 6:30. So be sure to tune in for that later this week, certainly. We won't live stream it, but there will be the Pope Francis Pep Rally, the Spring Pep Rally. Certainly something for the students to look forward to here at Pope Francis. As Nolan Craven trying to scoop it up at the 40-yard line of the Pope Francis D zone, working it upfield for Jordan Ballant. Ballant looking inside, trying to find Ali Soja. Soja working her way inside, off the post. Almost had her second goal of the game. Jordan Ballant trying to regroup with it now in front of the Hampshire Regional goal. Instead, it is scooped up by the netminder for the Raiders. Hampshire Regional looking to come back the other way with it now. And take the lead here so they can gain, I believe it was their first lead since the early goal, the 1-0 goal that would start everything in the first quarter. Other than that, Hampshire Regional has not led in this game since the opening goal, about less than 2 minutes into the third quarter. Low shot deflected just high and wide over the net. I believe Zoe Shepard might have got a piece of it. But Hampshire Regional still with possession deep into the Pope zone. As Hampshire Regional, a good quality scoring opportunity. Pope Francis looking to work it out of their own D zone. Sophia Lynchwan trying to get upfield for Nolan Craven. Craven sends a girl down to the field. As she looks inside, trying to fire a shot off, get her third goal of the game, looking for the hat-trick goal. Nothing would go for her, though. So Nolan Craven at the 15-yard line. Low shot sailed wide of the net. As with 5 minutes remaining in the third quarter, still at a standstill 5-5 game. Hampshire Regional will work it out of their own D zone. Hampshire Regional unable to get it up successfully. They got it to the 30-yard line, but unable to get it out of the zone cleanly. As that pass was almost picked off, I believe, by Ella Negron. Sophia Lynchwan and Keely Geckel trying to push Hampshire Regional to the outside. As that pass broken up in the middle. Zoe Shepard will sky this one out, trying to find Ali Soja. As Pope Francis working it into the field. Ballant. Surveying her options, looking around. Trying to get one up on the scoreboard for Pope Francis. With 3:40 remaining in the third quarter. As I believe we have Pope possession here. With a shot coming at the 15-yard line. I believe it'll be Fitzgerald. Gonna work her way inside and try a fire a short side shot off, but nothing again for Pope Francis. Pope Francis done a good job in the O-zone, but they haven't had much as far as shots on net. They've been going wide and over the net, and certainly a couple more shots on net would certainly do them well. Give them a couple of quality scoring opportunities. With just about under 3 minutes remaining in the third quarter. Ella Negron working up top for Nolan Craven. For Jordan Ballant. And Ali Soja just playing a game of catch. Nolan Craven trying to work inside for her third goal of the game. Official does blow the play dead, though. So this will be Pope possession again. This is Nolan Craven. The 15-yard line. Low shot, and she scores! Nolan Craven with her third goal of the game. Half of the goals for Pope Francis. 2:31 remaining in the third quarter. As Pope back up by 1. Hampshire Regional looking for another equalizer. As we said before, they have not led since the opening goal of the game just about under 2 minutes in. And other than that, it's been all Pope Francis. Hampshire Regional has come back to tie the game, but have yet proven successful to take the lead. Face off one up by Hampshire Regional again, as they look to get something going back the other way. 6-5 to score in favor of Pope Francis. Ella Negron on a break up the play in front of Zoe Shepard. Hampshire Regional Raiders trying to get something going here. Trying to work inside. Shake and bake this way and that around at the 20-yard line behind Zoe Shepard. As a low shot there, again by Nolan Craven. So her fourth goal of the game. We do apologize, ladies and gentlemen, as it's just become apparent to us that we have started live streaming here with 1:17 remaining in the third quarter. We do apologize for the insignificance. But we will do our best to give you the remainder of the third quarter and the fourth quarter of play. So Nolan Craven with 4 goals for Pope Francis. Freshman putting in the work here for the Cardinals. As we said, Caitlin Ondrick last year, a big-time goal scorer for Pope Francis, as she continues her hockey and lacrosse career at UMass Boston. A 48-goal scoring score and 30 assists she put up in her senior year here at Pope Francis. Hampshire Regional trying to get something going back the other way. Last minute of regulation in the third quarter. 2-goal lead that the Cardinals have, looking to hold on to this. As we said, it was an 8-7 the last time these two teams met. An 8-7 victory in favor of the Cardinals. But it would come down to the wire. Here now with 30 seconds on the clock. Hampshire Regional trying to fire a low shot off. I believe that was blocked by Zoe Shepard in front. But with 27.1 left on the clock, time will come to a stop for the moment. Sophia Lynchwan trying to work it up for Pope Francis. Inside pass for Nolan Craven. Trying to get her 5th goal of the game in the third quarter. Nolan Craven, once again, her 5th goal of the game. As that has put Pope Francis up 8-5. What a night that she has had here. With 14.4 seconds remaining in the third quarter. 5 goals for Nolan Craven. As she has propelled Pope Francis to a 3-goal lead in the third quarter of regulation. Face-off won back by Hampshire Regional, as I believe just about a second and a half will come off the scoreboard. Face-off won forward, I believe it was by Pope Francis, but Hampshire Regional will regroup with it now. Dying moments of the game, Hampshire Regional trying to get something going, as it will not go for them, as Ali Soldier will just wear the clock down. 3, 2, and 1. So the third quarter comes to a close. Pope Francis, though, with a big step up, as 8-5 they now lead heading into the fourth quarter. Stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. The final quarter of regulation when we come back. Stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. Champions Play here, live on Pope Prep. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the fourth quarter of action. Face-off won forward by Nolan Craven. I mean, what a night she has had. 5 goals for Pope Francis as she has propelled them to an 8-5 lead with Jordan Ballant along the low side. Back up for Nolan Craven. Ali Soja trying to get something going. Ballant back for Soja. His play's blown dead here. As I believe we might have subs coming onto the field for Hampshire Regional already. Low shot there. I believe it was fired by Ali Soja. So she has her second goal of the night to add on to the Pope Francis lead. As it is now 9-5. 31 seconds into the fourth quarter. As Pope Francis is all gassed from here. Looking to come out strong with the first win of the season. Nolan Craven working it upfield for Pope Francis, looking to add on to the 5-goal night she has. Looking inside for Ali Soja, who has the hat-trick goal, assisted by Nolan Craven, as it is now 10-5 Pope Francis. As 15 seconds between the first 2 goals of the fourth quarter. As Pope Francis with a strong start out here in the fourth quarter of regulation. Face-off one forward for Pope Francis. Instead it was picked up, though, by Hampshire Regional. As the official blows play dead here. Just about a minute into the fourth quarter. Hampshire Regional trying to scramble for the ball down low deep. Ella Negron looking to come out with it now, as she does. On the far side of the field, looking up for Nolan Craven. As we have a player down in the field now at the 40-yard line for Hampshire Regional, with 10:28 remaining in the fourth quarter. As we are back here now, as the Hampshire Regional player is being taken off the field, as we hope she is okay, with 10:28 remaining in the fourth quarter. A little bit of a scary moment for Hampshire Regional. So 10-4 the score in favor of Pope Francis. Nolan Craven with, I believe, 5 or 6 goals. We've lost track here. I believe it's 5 goals, though, on the night for Nolan Craven. Jordan Ballant working over to the side for Fitzgerald. Ballant looking inside, trying to fire a low side shot off, and Pope Francis scores as it is now 11-5 with 10:10 remaining in the fourth quarter. 3 goals in the opening minute 50 of the fourth quarter here, as Hampshire Regional has just fallen asleep and had no response whatsoever. Ballant trying to work her way in. Trying to find Brooke Nadell over, trying to work her way to the inside of the net. As Hampshire Regional and Pope scrambling for it, the 20-yard line. So the Raiders will come out with it, work it upfield. As Pope Francis will have to get back. Raiders looking to get something going here, as they find themselves in a 6-goal deficit. Raiders trying to fire a one-time shot off. Nothing would go there for them, as that shot sailed just high and wide past the net. Sophia Lynchwan working up the close side of the field for Pope Francis. Up for Jordan Ballant. Looking far side for Nolan Craven and Ella Negron. Instead, she'll take it herself. Give a short side pass over for Nolan Craven. Back for Ali Soja. Inside. Cardinals trying to work it away. Their way in. Shot was sent to the far side of the net. Soja trying to take a little step back and work it up top for Ballant. Back for Nolan Craven. Ballant couldn't handle the pass there, as Hampshire Regional looking to come back the other way. 8:30 in regulation now remaining. Pope with a 6-goal lead. Biggest we've seen so far in the last 2 years between the Raiders and Pope Francis. We thought Hampshire Regional was going to come out with a little more intensity here in the fourth quarter. But ever since then, Pope Francis has just dominated from start to finish here in the fourth quarter of play. As Keely Geckel is sent down to the field. But Hampshire Regional will come back out with it. We're going to get something going here. Drive to the net, and they score. As that is their 6th goal of the game for the Raiders. As it is now 11-6 Pope Francis with 7:49 remaining in regulation. Pope still with plenty of leeway for a lead, but certainly not a comfortable one. As we saw them with a 2-goal lead at the closing in on the end of the first quarter, but that would quickly evaporate. So as we said, 7:49 remaining in regulation. Pope right off the bat with 3 goals in the opening 2 minutes. As they look to add on to it now. Nolan Craven looking for the double hat trick, her 6th goal of the game. Craven trying to work her way inside. Finds Ali Soja. Trying to lead the pass off for Jordan Ballant. She couldn't pick it up, though. Pope Francis still trying to gather along the 40... on the 4-yard line. Nolan Craven looking for an inside lane. There's a drop pass up. Fitzgerald trying to work her way inside of the 20-yard line. Nothing would go for her. Craven trying to get the inside feed, trying to fire a shot off. Instead, it's sent out to the far side for Ellen Agron, looking to get her first goal of the night. Low shot sent just high and wide over the net. As Pope Francis again will regroup with it now. Good O-zone time for the Cardinals here. Pass inside over for Ali Soja. Save made by the regional netminder. Fitzgerald again trying to fire a shot off. She fanned on it, though, with 6:30 left in regulation. Hampshire Regional trying to get something going upfield, get some sort of offensive zone pressure. Sophia Lynchwan trying to work it upfield for the Cardinals. Hampshire Regional has other plans, though, as they come back the other way. We're going to make it a 4-goal lead for Pope Francis, where they are cut down. As we're nearing the halfway point in the fourth quarter, as the Raiders will head to the 15-yard line. That shot deflected off the post. Pope Francis in a little bit of a struggle trying to get it out of their own zone. Ellen Agron working it up field for Jordan Ballant. Ballant looking to add on already 1 goal on the night. Jordan Ballant looking inside, can't find any lanes there. Leaves off for Fitzgerald. I believe the shot may have caught a piece of the Hampshire Regional netminder's stick. But that shot is sent well wide of the net. As I believe we do have subs coming onto the field for both Pope Francis and possibly Hampshire Regional. Or rather, we have a timeout taken by Pope Francis. So we'll step aside, ladies and gentlemen. 5:04 remaining in the fourth quarter. 11-6 in favor of the Cardinals. Stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen, when we come back. The remaining 5 minutes of regulation live on Pope Prep. Back here off the timeout from Pope Francis with 5:03 remaining in regulation. 11-6 Cardinals lead. As we saw, it was quick goals in the fourth quarter and late goals in the third quarter that would put the Cardinals up with a 6-goal combination. Ali Soja trying to work this way and that, get something going for Pope Francis, and add on to the 5-goal lead that they have so far. Ali Soja over for Jordan Ballant. Looking inside for Riley Longo. Nolan Craven trying to get something going on the inside. A spinorama move along the 20-yard line. Finds Ellen Negron, far side of the field. We'll settle it back for Nolan Craven. As we said, Craven already with 5 goals on the night, looking to add on to it. Drop pass as it was lobbed in front of that. I believe it was Fitzgerald trying to add on. Finds Ali Soja. Back for Jordan Bowen, who can't handle the pass. Hampshire Regional trying to come back out with it now as they scramble for it in front of the Hampshire Regional netminder. As play is blown dead, as it will go in favor of Hampshire Regional. Jordan Ballant trying to work it upfield. Trying to get the play broken up by Ali Soja. Cardinals looking to work it back the other way now. Trying to find an inside lane. Ali Soja. Even it off for Nolan Craven. Back for Soja. Gonna add her second goal of the night. Jordan Ballant trying to get the pass off in front of the Hampshire Regional net. Play is blown dead yet again, and it will go in favor of Hampshire Regional. Hampshire Regional trying to get something going. Dying 2:30 remaining in the fourth quarter. 11-6 the score in favor of Pope Francis. Hampshire Regional, we thought they had a solid start out the first 2 quarters. Especially the first quarter where they would come back, tied up at 4-4 apiece. Pope Francis thought they had a little bit of room with the lead. But the Raiders would say, nuh-uh, not today. But Pope Francis really has, from start to finish, they've really dominated this fourth and third quarter. They've given Hampshire Regional a little bit of room to play with, but not much here. As we are just around 2 minutes remaining in regulation, Hampshire Regional trying to fire a shot off inside to get something going. Claire DeRosiers. Oh, Francis trying to just get it back into the ozone time. Now with 1:20 remaining in regulation, Nolan Craven trying to work it inside of the front of the net. She fires and scores as it is now 6 goals on the night for Nolan Craven. Half of the Pope Francis goals with 1:14 remaining in regulation. And that should just about seal the deal here for the Cardinals. I mean, there's been so much right here. Hampshire Regional stood with Pope Francis the first quarter and a little bit of the second quarter, but Pope Francis has done a good job of just expanding upon this lead that they had and taking control of it. So with 1 minute remaining in regulation, 12-6 the score in favor of the Raiders. Again, ladies and gentlemen, next time we will see you will more than likely be either Monday or Tuesday night of next week here on Pope Prep. It'll be boys lacrosse versus Westfield possibly, or boys baseball versus Northampton at 4:30. Hampshire Regional trying to work their way inside, get something going. There's a final minute of regulation on our hands now. Raiders looking to just come out with this, maybe make it a 5-goal deficit that they would trail by, or even 4 if they can get a couple of shots off quickly. Pope Francis looking to just come out with a good victory here. A 6-goal lead, wide margin, the biggest we've seen them score in a couple of years. As this will be a good start to the season for the Cardinals. There's 15 seconds remaining now in regulation. Pope looking to get it. Play going back upfield. So as we said, it was a little bit of a closer game the last time that these two teams met. It would be 8-7 the final score. So a 6.1 remaining on the clock. Time will wind down here. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, the first game of the season for girls lacrosse has come to an end. 12-6 the final score. A solid way to start off the season. Stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. Coming up, we'll have the Cardinal post-game. We'll break down what we saw and what we hope to see in the upcoming games live on Pope Prep. Cardinal post-game here with Don Percy. 12-6 the final score in favor of the Cardinals. So they start off the season 1-0 and Hampshire Regional 0-1. I mean, but what a night, though, from Nolan Craven. 6 goals under her belt. Can't ask for much more. Half of the Pope Francis goals. I mean, really just a jaw-dropping night from her. I mean, the last time we saw numbers like that being put up was Caitlin Ondrick last season. I believe 4 or 5 goals a game that she would average. So, nonetheless, 12-6. Ali Soja also leading the way for Pope Francis. Jordan Ballant. And Zoe Shepard with a stellar performance in net. So a good job certainly by them. As with the Cardinal postgame coming to a close, that'll just about do it. So the final score here from Pope Francis, 12-6 in favor of the Cardinals as they start off the season 1-0. So this is Don Percy, the voice of the Cardinals, saying so long from Springfield. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in, and have a nice night.